folks, it's Randy from Pete's RV here again. Just want to discuss some tips with you about how to put your camper away after a wet camping weekend. And we always hope we're going to have a wonderful weather when we go out camping, but sometimes, especially this year, we haven't always had Mother Nature agreeing with us. So I'm just going to give you some good tips to put away your camper when you get home, so there's not a whole lot of work to do next time you want to use it. First thing you want to do if you do put your camper away after a wet weekend is when you get it home, open up the awning. By drying the awning out, we're going to hinder mildew buildup and some odors and some staining. So, wait for a nice day, put it out when you can be around and there's not going to be high winds and stuff like that. Let the sun take over and dry it out. Once it's good and dry, we can go ahead and put our awning back up. That's going to save us a lot of work down the road and ultimately have a fresh awning next time you want to put it out. And this is for all you pop-up campers out there. Again, Mother Nature can do some funny things, and I know when I go camping it usually rains at least one day. So let's hope it doesn't when you guys go camping, but if it does and you guys are a pop-up camper, it's not going to hurt anything to put the pop-up away wet. We're going to dry it out when we get home. But again, very important, if it is put away wet, or even if it isn't put away wet, just from the moisture that comes from us using the camper, good idea to put the thing up, day after you get home, what have you, when you get a little free time. Let the sun dry everything out, open up the curtains, open up the screens, let some air get in there, dry everything out, and then you're going to be good to put it away. That way you're going to have a nice clean camper the next time you go to use it. Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit about our fresh water system right now. A lot of people, when they go dry camping at a state park, or just, for in transit to the campground, they'll put a little bit of water in their tank or fill their water tank so they can use the utilities inside, i.e. the bathroom and the sink while they're traveling. What we want to do after we get home, or even as we're leaving the campground, fresh water does go bad if it sits around for a long period of time. So on the outside of the camper where we fill the fresh water with our garden hose, usually somewhere in this vicinity we're going to have a drain underneath the camper. So when we get home or when we're leaving the campground after we're done with our camping weekend, let's open up the drain. Let that water out. If you're not going to use the camper within the next week or so, good idea to drain that water out. That way the water doesn't go bad. Now if you forgot to drain it out and it does go bad, we can put a little bit of chlorine in the freshwater holding tank and run it through the lines and get that odor out. But if we drain it, we won't have to go through that process, and it's going to be nice and clean, ready for you to use it next time you go out. So make sure you drain your freshwater tank after you've used the camper for the weekend. Another thing I like to see customers do after using their camper for a weekend or an extended stay is when you shut down your refrigerator and it starts to de-thaw, there's lots of moisture inside. From cold to hot, we're going to create moisture. So a real important thing to do is if we can crack the doors a little bit. I've seen people put rags in here. There's actually some of the manufacturers in the newer RVs will have door holders that'll keep them open a little bit. But as this thing's defrosting, we need to get rid of the moisture in the air. So by leaving the doors open a crack, leaving our windows open a little bit, and maybe a roof vent, create some cross ventilation, the moisture is going to escape from the refrigerator. Not going to have mold in there when we open it up the next time. So real important, when you're defrosting your refrigerator or de-thawing the refrigerator after a camping weekend, leave the doors open a little bit, allow that moisture to escape, and we won't have any mold or mildew built up in there the next time we go to use it. Another thing we can do after a wet camping weekend or any camping weekend, when we use our campers, when we're sleeping in them, when we're cooking in them, when we're taking showers, we create moisture in the air, which also gets absorbed in the furniture and the walls and stuff like that. So when we do get home, a real great idea is to crack a vent a little bit. If you do have some vent covers on, which we've discussed in earlier videos, this is a great way to be able to keep some airflow going even if it is raining out. If you don't have them, just crack it a little bit. Or some of the windows on your coach may open from the bottom and we can open those. Get some cross ventilation going. Let's get all that moisture out that was trapped in here while we were using the camper over our camping weekend. And this is going to, again, hinder the mold buildup, mildew that we may get. It's going to give it a nice fresh smell next time we go to use the camper, and just keep everything working properly, and get rid of the staining and things like that that may come with closing up a camper that is really damp inside from us using it in poor weather, or just taking long showers if you got teenagers, what have you, with you. Right, here we are in front of another one of our great used units we have down here at Pete's RV. Another thing I like to see customers do after they use a camper for the weekend, and a lot of people don't know this, if you're not going to bring your camper home and plug it into, say, a wall outlet at home near your garage or what have you, really important to unhook the ground on our battery. There is a couple devices inside the camper that are constant draws, i.e. the LP detector and the clock on the stereo. Those devices can bring down the state of charge in the battery over 3 to 5 days. Once you go below 10 volts, we're actually damaging the battery. So after you've towed your vehicle, you've got a good charge on it on the way home from your camping weekend. You're not going to be plugging it in at home. It's going to go on the back of the lawn until you can get out and use it again. Let's unhook the negative on the battery. What this will do is stop those constant draws on our battery and have our battery in the same state it was when we left it on our trip home. So next time we go to use our camper, we're starting out with a freshly charged battery rather than a dead battery. Not good to drain a battery all the way down. They don't always come back to life. So by unhooking the ground on our battery will be in the same state it is when we left it, when we unhooked it after our last camping weekend. The reason I'm telling you to unhook the ground on the battery, if we unhook the positive on the battery and by mistakenly we plug this camper in and the positive wire is touching the frame or a ground place somewhere on the trailer, we will actually take out some fuses in the converter. So to keep from having to replace those fuses, unhook the negative on the battery and you won't have any issues.